Hey everybody, welcome back. So in this episode today, what we are going to look at is how to hauntify your house, or really put any image to your house to give it a different look. This can be pretty useful and pretty fun. The fun part would be just kind of being creative and making your house look different or haunted. Or if you're looking at remodeling or trying a new paint or different garage doors, you can actually try them out and see exactly how they're going to look on your house, which is what part of my one Christmas video in 2019 was. What we're going to do today is focus in on Adobe Photoshop and use our template file that we came up with when we masked the house, and many different textures that you can find either online through Googling or actually going out and taking the pictures to create a different look for your house to use as the background to your video files. So let's begin. I'm going to start with the end result. So as you look over on this right side, you'll see a bunch of different labels. And if I go all the way up, you'll see this was done right in my mask file, just to keep everything nice and neat. But as I go through these different layers and I start turning them on, you'll see the different textures that I added to my house to create the hauntified image that I had used in 2019. All right. So at the end, you'll see that all the files are here together. I did leave these three open because that's where I just projected the blank pumpkins onto. But you'll see that I have every single thing covered with a pretty bold texture. But when you look at the videos, it doesn't come across quite as bold as it is in here, which was something that I learned the first time I did this. And so the first year that I did this, I had created, it looked nice. I wouldn't say it looked awful, but it was pretty muted. And then when I projected it onto the house, it really did not have good bang for the buck. So as you are creating and looking and sourcing for files, you really want some ones that are very contrast heavy. So you can see like the dark blacks and the whites. You can see the pretty pronounced blood splatter here on the garage door. Nice thick black lines cut in for the wooden effect. A nice strong brick effect here, and I chose to go a little larger just to bring out more of those grout lines. Another thing before I forget, if you look, I have the windows with a little bit of a yellowy color to them. I didn't want to like fully leave the windows white because it's very stark and bright. And it kind of takes away from that old look. So I just stained them yellow by selecting them and kind of painting on like a almost pastel yellow color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through and show you how I kind of piece together the house. Now I have every year kind of wanted to make my house like a castle theme. I thought that would look pretty cool with some skeletons walking around. I thought that would be a cool effect. However, these shutters that I have, the dark black shutters, really do kill that whole castle vibe, because no matter what I do to this top floor, the windows are very pronounced as in windows. But let's just play and pretend that they really were not like that. But what I'm going to do is start off by bringing in some different textures. So I'm going to start with the castle look, and I'll apply that to all of my siding. And in fact, I'm actually going to take it straight across my windows down here, this whole bottom floor, because what castle has so many different openings down here. So I'll just take that straight across. So from your template file, you can work from that. I'm going to bring my image in here, and I'm going to have to move it out across the house. So I want to kind of keep in line roughly about where I need it, and roughly angle it so that way it follows the lines of the house. This is pretty big and bold. I'm going to take that, I'm going to copy, paste it down, bring my dragging tool. Okay, and I'm just going to roughly cover the house. And what you're going to want to do as you're bringing them down is try to see where you can kind of fit them together to make it look like it's all part of one without being all part of one. See how it kind of seem together a little nicer there? We can try to fine tune that a little bit as I move forward. Just going to stretch that out a little larger so that way it covers over this area. In fact, I can take that, copy it, and then paste it. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to flip it upside down so that way it's a little bit different from the bottom floor. I'm going to bring this across the top one. Alright, just like that. Try to find a nice spot where they roughly meet up pretty well together. That actually looks pretty good right there. Don't forget about this garage. I'll have to make this one a little bit bigger because it's closer. Copy and paste it. Try to roughly match this up somewhere in here where it covers everything. There we go, that looks pretty good. So let me select all of these unnamed. Okay, and I'm selecting them by clicking one, holding shift and going all the way up to the top and clicking. Then I'm going to right click and I'm going to go down to rasterize layers. And then I'm going to go down to merge layers. Alright, and that will just merge the ones that I have here. Now it's best to start naming it something that makes sense to you, so I'm going to put castle siding. Alright, my castle siding. Now what I'm going to do is turn that off because I need to see behind it. So behind it I have all my different pieces of the house. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to select the pieces. You can go through holding shift and clicking each one, or if it's easier, click and hold on it to create the quick selection tool, and then you can draw across, which might be easier for some if you want to go with that. Going down underneath, I'm going to get this in, select that. It's a little sloppy like right in there, but in the grand scheme of things it shouldn't be too bad. Now on mine I want to keep this camera out, so I'm going to hold Option on the Mac just to clear that out. Go over to the garage. This one's a nice clean one, so I'm going to go back to Magic Wand, hold Shift and click, and that will select all of that. Now I have my siding. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to click on my castle siding. I'm going to turn this on, and then you'll see they call it the dancing ants back here. And what I'm going to do is hit Command Shift I, and that will select the inverse, which is everything outside of what we just clicked in. And I'm going to select the inverse because I want to go to my eraser tool and I want to start erasing the overlapping images in the areas that I don't want it. Once I'm done that, I can click off, and there is my castle siding. If you want to fine tune, you can kind of go in, zoom in a bit, and I'll show you over here. Just take your black paintbrush and you can kind of add in, change my opacity up, do my normal, there we go. And you can kind of add in some brick lines to kind of get rid of that weird seam. There we go. And then it will kind of make it look a little more on purpose. Make that just a larger seam there. So you kind of go down a little bit. Where was this one? This one was actually pretty good. Hard to see. And just kind of add a seam in. Even if the colors are a little bit different, instead of making a straight line down, it adds kind of to the look a little bit if you kind of vary it. There we go. Perfect. All right, and you can go through as you look now. The seams start disappearing and they're a little bit better. So you can do that for the rest of them, but I'm going to move on. So let's look at the garage doors. So for my garage doors, of course, I'm going to add like a drawbridge looking garage door. And what would be really awesome is have it so it's able to open up. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to drag and drop it over the file that I found. As you can see, this is a really nice, large, crisp file, which I did on purpose because I'm actually only going to use a piece of it. So just to see what I'm doing, I'm going to change the opacity of it so I can kind of line it up a little better with the lines. Let's see, I want this a little bit smaller. I want to try to make this crease as straight as possible. All right, that doesn't look too bad, so we'll leave it just like that. I'll find it into the middle, and then I'm going to put it down. I'm going to change my opacity back up so it's nice and bright. So what I'm going to do is click on the template file. I'm going to turn off my door. I'm going to select my garage, and then I'm going to go back to this file, click on it, turn it on, Control-Shift-I, and then I'm going to erase everything outside of it. You could use the erase button or you can hit delete. So the erase tool or hit delete. But do you see how this error box came up? The smart object is not directly editable. If that comes up, you'll click OK, right click on that layer and just hit rasterize layer. Once you do that, it now is editable. So I'm going to hit delete, and boom, there you go. All right, so you'll see that this is a little bold in comparison to this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of wash over it a little. So I'm going to take maybe some of the gray tone. Nice gray tone there. And then I'm going to go back to my painting tool. I'm going to make my brush larger. All right. Kind of hit like a lighten maybe. Turn my flow really far down and my opacity down as well, because I just want to, on my castle part, so I'll select my castle door, and then I'm just going to kind of color over it a little bit just to take the edge off of it a little bit. Might even go down in opacity a little more so I can hit it a couple more times. And as you see now, it blends in a little better with the look. It makes it look a little more realistic. So I'm going to take this same door image and I'm going to go over to the left garage door. So I'll name this right wooden door. And I'm going to bring this one over here, and I'm going to do the same thing. So I'll speed this along for you. And I'm going to pause right here because right away I noticed that these squares are very different shapes. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to re-alter that so that they are the same shape. And I'm going to do that by going back in my history to the size. And it looks like I had inadvertently squished the door a little. Alright, that looks much better. Alright, speeding up, finishing this off again. Alright, so I have my two doors here. I'm just going to name this one left wooden door. I'm going to continue in. I have some windows here. Just to remind myself where the windows are, I'm going to turn on these windows here. You can also look at it off of your template file, and you can see it just by turning off your siding. But just to keep it nice, I'm going to keep my siding on. I'm going to drag and drop some windows up and in. You'll see that there are, this is one of those like fake transparent ones. So I'm going to click on my magic wand tool and I'm going to turn off contiguous. I'm going to select the white. I'm going to select the gray. I'm holding shift to select both of them. And there you go. Now I have like the outline. I'm going to click. There's like a darker gray there. All right. And now I'm going to hit delete. Same error. Right click, rasterize. Delete again. Perfect. Now I have some windows. All right. So I'm going to take those windows and I'm going to bring them into the area. You can see that there was some that missed down here. Why that missed was because it was out and underneath. So I'm just going to go back and click it again. It's one of those things that it happens. Not a big deal. All right. So here's my windows. Now you're going to want to twist them a little bit so that they match the lines of the house. This one will kind of fit in right here. Might bring it up a little bit. There we go. Perfect. All right, so I'm going to turn off this window look. Now you'll see that they are two different color stones. I don't know about you, but that's going to bother me a lot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click into my window. Name 2. I'm going to click those colors, leave the tolerance pretty high. Then I'm going to take that same color that I had and I'm going to change the colors of the window using my paintbrush tool. So with that paintbrush tool, the best one to use for that is to go up, click on paintbrush, take the mode and use color. And when I do that, just coloring over top will instantly turn it a color that matches the color that you put up there, which I think is a perfect fit in here. You can do the same thing with your wood if you want to match your wood doors. So I'm going to take a sample of this wood. I'm going to click on the wood in here. And then I'm just going to go over it real quick. And that should bring out a little more of this tone of wood in here. Just to make it easy, you can take that, copy and paste and then just put those over the same other spots of your windows. Then all you need to do is kind of twist them a little bit to fit the lines of your house. So this starts kind of making it a little smaller, so I'm just gonna bring this down just a tad and get it to match. So this really is a very rough, quick, down and dirty how to hauntify your house using the template tool. Really, the whole gist of this is to create a concept in your mind for the house, find some different textures, and have a good plan for what you are going to do with it, and then apply it using the template, which is essentially stretching out all the pictures over the area that you want to cover. Then you're going to select it in your template, and you are going to erase everything that's around it. Keeping in mind, the big thing is trying to stick with the lines of your house to make sure everything is nice and even. You'll even see, I'll point out on these garage doors, it's going to be very apparent these two things do not match up, so I'm going to have to go back and relook at that just to try to hash that out. Please know this is not my best work as we're going. This is just kind of a tutorial for you. So just to go back, let's get out of the one that we created, and let's just take a look back at what I used last year. So give me 1 second, I'll click everything back in. Okay, so now that everything is back in, you can see that everything is lined up a lot better. Everything kind of fits the house a lot better. This is why I have not gone with the castle theme, because it's just not going to work for my house. It will probably work out better for some of your houses. But one of the big questions that I get often is about creating this wood panel here. This wood panel that's siding was actually created one board at a time. So I took essentially a piece of board, and I copy and pasted it in multiple times, so you can see that this board is the same as this one. It's reused down here and a different part down here, and there were a couple different shades and variants of boards. I added some holes into it. I made a couple of them kind of slanted and overlapping just to make it look a little more dilapidated. This is just like a rust texture that I found, and I kind of blew up so it was a little more pronounced. Just a standard brick wall kind of background. This was like a wood trim that I went and I made it black and white. The garage doors, this was a picture of some busted down garage doors, and I added a blood splatter that I found over top of it using transparency. So really get creative as you go through this. You'll kind of find your niche. The one thing I am definitely going to recommend as I wrap up this incredibly long video is to try to avoid cartoony looking houses. It might look kind of cool on your computer, but I'll be honest, it doesn't really come across very well outside on the house. I did it for my first one, and I'll be honest, I was not a big fan, and I immediately tried to go a little more realistic as I moved forward. So I'm going to leave you here with this. Hopefully you picked up a lot from the tutorial. I might do a shortened version. We'll see. This one is pretty lengthy. As always, leave some comments in. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. I am very responsive to questions. You can hit me through the comments or an email. Once you get things projected, please put them up on YouTube and share them with me so I can include them. I'd love to see what you are doing. Thank you again for your time, and have a great day.